need to confront you about Gaza. Hamas, Palestinians, they would never do something like this. They're not capable of doing something like this. These are innocent civilians who would never attack other civilians in another country. These are actual Hamas vehicles.
Turn it into a copycat of those vehicles from ISIS. One of the early footage that we've seen was the footage of these vehicles and surrounding those roundabouts and shooting everybody. Sometimes burning people alive. We had to clear those vehicles from human ash for 3.5 weeks. Every day we took out 13, 14 bags of ash. We had to do unimaginable things. Sometimes we buried people together because we couldn't understand that it's actually two bodies. They wanted to scar our souls. And that's why we're fighting this war. We're fighting this war for October 7th to never, ever happen. It should have never happened at the beginning. And this is the most basic covenant between a country and its civilians to protect its civilians.
Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for funding my content. I cannot make these videos without your support, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, patrons. You're the best.
Today in Israel, I got invited to a group trip via an organization known as IDSF. They connected me hands-on with elements of the Israel Defense Force I never would have had an opportunity to come across. They took me down to the south of Israel to see what it's like on the ground almost 1 full year since the October 7th attack by the Hamas terrorist group. While down there, I had the opportunity to ask IDF soldiers some hard-hitting questions. So we've jumped over to a spot now known as the Burnt Card Lot. This place has evolved immensely since I got to Israel about a year ago. When I first got here, this was literally just a field. I mean, we were still in a very, very active war zone. We still are. There was nothing organized here. There was no fences. There was no tables. There was no gate to go inside. You couldn't even enter the lot itself. Oh, it's way more set up. I'm gonna bring my friend in to explain to you guys what exactly this is right now. So oftentimes on YouTube, I'm given a lot of crap for not speaking to both sides, for being very one-sided. Well, I want to give you guys the opportunity to understand that I'm trying to be as balanced as possible. And I've brought with me an IDF soldier today to answer some tough questions. What is your name, sir? Adamita. Adam, I want to ask you, I need to confront you about Gaza. What are your thoughts as an IDF soldier on the situation in the Gaza Strip?
As an IDF officer, I can tell that we're fighting the most righteous war that we could fight for our existence, pretty much. And we're doing it in the most humane way that ever fought before.
Now, we're standing in a site that's kind of proves the opposite of why people even want me to ask you this question. I'm just kind of curious if you can show me some, maybe some highlights in here.
So this place is a testimonial for what's happened, for the magnitude of the event on October 7th. We're about to enter a site where over 1,600 vehicles were brought. 300 of them that comprising a wall of iron, steel, and rust that you're about to see were deliberately burned by Hamas terrorists. Those vehicles were burned, sometimes burning people alive inside those vehicles. We had to, and I could show this inside, we had to clear those vehicles from human ash for 3.5 weeks. Each and every day we took out 12, 13, 14 bags of ash to bury it, because by the Jewish tradition, we have to bring all the human remains to burial. We had to recognize our deads by samples of DNA. Sometimes we buried people together because we couldn't understand that it's actually two bodies other than one, and we had to exhume the bodies from the grave and rebury them. And if you think about the verb I just said, rebury, it's not even a verb, because we had to do unimaginable things after October 7th, including things that doesn't even a verb for, like rebury, because the burial should be an eternal thing, an infinite thing.
One thing that happens one time.
Exactly, but we had to rebury our people, like the case of Shani Gabay, a young lady in her early 20s that was working at the Nova Festival, and we had to exhume her body and rebury her. Yeah.
What do you say to the people online who would say, Hamas, Palestinians, they would never do something like this? They're not capable of doing something like this. These are innocent civilians who would never attack other civilians in another country.
Well, first of all, we have to understand, we make distinguish between, the innocent population and Hamas. But Hamas is a Palestinian terror organization. They're not from any other region, the Palestinian terror organization. And you can actually see with me, right here, there's for example, just 2 out of the 100 vehicles of Hamas who came across
These
Gaza.
are actual Hamas vehicles.
These are actual Hamas vehicles. We kept them here as a testimonial for, just as a memory for what's happened, but there are hundreds of those who came, including over 200 motorcycles. You can actually see how they turned in those vehicles into war machines. there is this placement for a machine gun on top with a 50 caliber. These bullets are this big. Each and every pickup truck like this one carry 10, 12, 14 terrorists on top. And the first footage, I think one of the early footage that we've seen in Israel was the footage of these vehicles in the roundabouts of Zerot, one of our cities in the south, where you saw the terrorists are actually surrounding those roundabouts and shooting everybody. This Dodge Ram, this is a monster of a vehicle. It comes out shiny from the dealership, but look what they did. They customized it. They actually made it, they turned it into a copycat of those vehicles from ISIS in Iraq and Syria back in those days. And you can see this bulletproof armory that they had there, and they built a stage in order to facilitate all the weaponry on the bottom. AK-47, anti-tank missiles, RPGs, you name it, they had it, all types of ammunition. If you look just behind you, you can see this wall of iron, steel and rust comprised of 300 vehicles that were deliberately burned by Hamas. This was not just a random act of viciousness. This was a premeditated decisions by the terrorists to burn those vehicles because they wanted to scar our souls. They wanted us to know that they're so vicious, and just like they say, they're just like the Hamas leader said later on, given the opportunity, they will execute the next
again and
October
again
7th.
and again.
Again and again. They said it loud and clear. And that's why we're fighting this war. We're fighting this war for October 7th to never, ever happen. It should have never happened at the beginning. But we have to make sure, this is our obligation. This is the most basic covenant between a country and its civilians, to protect its civilians, to make sure that such a massacre will never, ever happen again.
Here's something I've never really been able to show off from this angle. Inside of this car lot, you have vehicles that are just riddled with bullet holes all over. These are all, all civilian cars. But besides the civilian vehicles, you have two ambulances right in the entrance. Here's one, clearly marked as ambulances as well. Here's another that were attacked by Hamas on the 7th of October. It's never something I've been able to show, even though I've been here a million times, but it's just horrific and disgusting to see. The amount of civilian vehicles that were targeted, the stacks of vehicles going up so high, stretching out so far, it's literally insane.
I guess that you understand what this vehicle is because you can read what it says, but for many people who come here, it's very hard to understand that this is actually an ambulance, or it actually used to be an ambulance, at least until October 7th. This ambulance was at the Nova Festival where you guys are about to go next. And just like when you make an event for thousands of people, then you have to have an emergency vehicle just in case. The people who celebrated peace and love at the Nova Festival never imagined that they would have to use this ambulance as a cover, as a shelter, while they are fleeing from terrorists, from the Palestinian terror organization of Hamas that raided this party and shot people to death. Approximately around 8 in the morning, when people were actually hiding in this vehicle trying to get shelter, they were spotted by the terrorists of Hamas. They shot dozens of bullets, as you could see, to this ambulance, and after they shot the people that were hiding, which is a war crime, by the way, they targeted this ambulance with hand grenades. They threw multiple hand grenades into this vehicle, and just to put the cherry on top, they launched an RPG, which set this ambulance on fire. This ambulance arrived here, and we treated this ambulance like the rest of the vehicles. The sites were terrible, and we had to clear all the human ash, the remains that left in this ambulance. We sent all the remains for DNA testing in order to look for any hints for any missing people who may have been in this ambulance, and the results that we've received were a shocker even for us. We found the DNA of 18 different people in this ambulance or around it. 18 different people who lost their lives in this ambulance. Now let me ask you a question. Have you heard about this ambulance before? Do you hear any global media? You heard the story about this in any global media?
I heard that Hamas doesn't attack ambulances.
Exactly. But I'm sure you heard about the 500 dead Palestinians in Al-Shifa hospital that was attacked by an Israeli rocket. Though it was never an Israeli rocket, there was no 500 dead Palestinians. It was a jihadi missile that struck on the backyard. And just to tell about how twisted the coverage of what's happening here is, that even when global medias understand in the next day what really was happening, that we never attacked on the Al-Shifa hospital, they delayed or sometimes didn't even correct the facts. But to bring the story of this ambulance, which is a pure war crime, crime against humanity, to strike in innocent civilians inside an ambulance, it's less interesting to bring this story to people and to share what's really going on. So this is our responsibility it's our responsibility to make sure that the truth comes out, that the IDF is fighting according to any international law, and we are fighting with Western values against a terror organization, which is a very, very difficult thing, almost impossible thing to do, but we do it. We need to understand and to remember and to remind that Hamas is a Palestinian terror organization, operates from Gaza, using its people as human shield. And they're using their people as human shield because they are interested in using their suffering as propaganda, because they don't care from their people, but we do. And we do whatever we can in order to avoid any harm in innocent civilians in any side.
I'm Brigadier General in Reserve Amir Avivi. I'm the chairman and founder of IDSF, Israel's Defense and Security Forum, known in Hebrew as Abitchonistim. The organization is composed of more than 35,000 Israeli officers, commanders, operators, and civilians, all of them, of course, in reserve or retired, and we promote Israel's national security looking for generations to come.
Amir, I was told you know your shit when it comes to what's going on in Gaza.
Definitely. This is our area of expertise.
Amazing. We're a year in since the October 7th war started. I'd love for you to give us a little bit of a idea of what we're dealing with and where we stand at the moment.
So Israel has created the terms for the destruction of Hamas, for eradicating Hamas. We destroyed all their capability to produce weapons. We closed the border with Egypt. They cannot rebuild themselves. We have killed around 70% of the terrorists. All we need to do is continue doing what we are doing, and the win will be decisive.
Amazing. Do you have any hope for people who are watching who are on the side of Israel, who are hoping that Israel comes out victorious in this war?
So I can say 100% Israel will be victorious in this war. We are going to win on all fronts, in Gaza, in the north, in the east, everywhere. We want support. We want you guys to fight for Israel. Each person has to do his part in this deal.
What would you say to the critics of Israel, the ones who don't support us, who want to see us fall, who want to see this country go away, and for all the people to go back to where they came from?
Well, I think the only explanation is Israel needs to give is a decisive win. That's the best thing we can do. Just talk less, do more.
Love it. It's great. Thank you, brother, for everything you do. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you
so much. I've talked about this ad nauseum in my channel already, but it's always really hard to face it. I've said this feeling too, where you feel like a failure. This is Eden Yerushalmi. She was what I claim to be as my hostage, the hostage that I gravitated towards the most. I mean, just amongst her picture, there's other people that you know or you've gravitated to, like Shani Luke, who was so violently murdered on camera, and her whole death was publicized to the world in the most disgusting way possible. But Eden Yerushalmi, who was just murdered after almost 11 months, or almost 11 months in captivity in a tunnel in Gaza. She was shot in the head alongside 5 other hostages. And I've seen her pictures all over. But now seeing her here, accepting the fact that she's dead and she's not coming back, she's not going to be rescued, is it's a pretty horrific reality. I've also told his story many times in a video before, but this is Awad Darawshi. He was a Arab resident of southern Israel, a paramedic at the Nova Party. And his story is really amazing because he left the party after rescuing some people, called his brother Muhammad, was on the phone with him, and told him that he was going to try to go back in to help save people because he felt like he could speak to Hamas because he spoke Arabic. And his brother Muhammad begged him to not go back in. He went back in and was ruthlessly murdered for being a paramedic, for saving Jewish lives. These are one of the heroes of October 7th that I feel like we all need to honor. So I'm here with Ronit. Ronit, where are we right now?
Hi, this is my house in Moshav Tkuma. This is my dog. And as you can see, Gaza is about 6 kilometers behind us.
Amazing. We're very close to the Gaza border. Since we've been sitting here, I mean, I've heard a few helicopters. I thought maybe I heard a few bombs. I'm not sure. I'm not so good at telling. But I'm curious, like, where are we standing as a citizen of South Israel, a citizen who's on the Gaza envelope? Where do we stand 1 year after?
Wow. Most of the times I feel like we're standing in the same place, you know? Like, it's not going to really be over. That all the time we have to fight and fight to make the government and the army do their job and finish it. You know, they said we will destroy Hamas as a military and as a governmental entity, and I don't see it getting there. I mean, we are getting there, we are getting closer, but I'm so afraid that we're going to pull out of Gaza, because you hear voices from the IDF saying, it's okay, Gaza is not an issue right now, we can pull out, we don't need to be near Philadelphia. And I'm like screaming from my heart, we have to be, because if you get out of Philadelphia, that will be my life. You're going to kill me, you're going to kill my kids, you're going to kill my neighbors, you're going to kill my family. I feel like we're in the same place. We still have to fight. Everything.
Can you show me real quick, and to my viewers, how close Gaza is actually to you?
Gaza, the buildings over there, you can see them.
Just right back there?
Yeah, these are the buildings. We can see, if with binoculars, you can see also that they're ruined. You can see that they don't have windows, that it's broken.
How has it affected your life living so close to this war zone this entire time it's been going on?
So first of all, we have a shelter right outside, because we have like a...
That's your bomb shelter?
Yeah, we have a bomb shelter in the house, but this is because we have events out here, and people are afraid to have events in the open, and they don't have a bomb shelter. So this is something that you'll never find in the center. Somebody who has a private garden, holds private parties, and has a shelter. So Gaza is very close to us.
You had such a beautiful quote right now about... Actually, let me phrase it like this. Are you a Zionist? Would you consider yourself a Zionist living down here?
So like 20 years ago, we didn't move here because of Zionist reasons. We moved here because I had 2.5 kids, and because we wanted green lawns, and we wanted a private house, and we wanted quality living. And this is the reason why we came here. But having this reality forced upon you makes you a Zionist. I wasn't intended to be, but it just why should we move away from here? This is a beautiful place. This is a legitimate place to live. It's not controversial. This is our home. We will never leave here. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm talking like a Zionist. Never used to be one. I mean, I just wanted a pretty house.
I want to send over a huge thank you to the IDSF, Israel's Defense and Security Forum. They made this entire video possible, and hopefully we'll be working together again in the very near future. IDSF is a group of over 35,000 reserve officers and operatives from all branches of the Israeli security forces. They are dedicated to guiding the narrative of Israel's national security needs. They also want to ensure that Israel's security in the homeland is never taken for granted. We're hoping that this is one of many videos that we'll be shooting together in the future to give you guys a better insight what it looks like to operate within the IDF. So thank you to IDSF. Please follow them down below in the description on all of their social medias. Go show them some love for making this video possible, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you long time. Goodbye, Clads.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to monetarily support the channel. Some of the best ways to support me happen to be PayPal, buy me a coffee, or joining our Patreon community. Links to them can be found in the pinned comments or the description of every one of my videos. Joining my Patreon community gives you access to exclusive content and the chance to talk to me on our Discord server. I also go live almost every day here on YouTube. And after my live streams, me and my patrons from Patreon head over to our Discord server to an exclusive after-party hangout. Your support is the only way that I can keep creating the content that you love watching for me. Thank you.